Chris Cool Mod sending me his CoinOps Retro FE Hyperspin 4 terabyte emulation system, and this thing is fully loaded, even more loaded than the last review. I'm loving this thing. Everything from the Nintendo Switch, yes, all the way up to the Nintendo Switch, all the way down to the old computer, Commodore, Atari, things like that. And man, is this thing packed. And he had to make decisions to fit it all on a 4 terabyte hard drive, but it's got the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 1, huge GameCube collection. You've got the Nintendo Switch, Dreamcast, huge arcade set, ready for a light gun, plug and play with many beautiful themes and backgrounds. And this one is pretty darn cool, and there's a lot of details we're going to have to get into. So in this video, we'll go ahead and go through everything. We'll show you how big it is, what's going on, what are the features, what is the hard drive you get, and we'll deep dive into it. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so here it is. There's a few different themes on this build. I just chose this one to show off. And so the first part of the video is going to be all just what's on the build. And so right off the bat, these are the main. It's a nested system, and so with a nested system, you have many different things. But we're starting in handhelds here, and you could see the different handhelds, right? Game Boy Color, Game Boy. The Nintendo Switch is actually in this category as well because technically it is a handheld. You're also going to get your PSP as well. And you can see here you have different rooms and things like that per arcade, per system. So beautiful graphics, full screen. As I started saying earlier in the video, this is all based on, it's similar to CoinOps Retro FE. These are just reskinned with their own graphics and things like that. But speaking of graphics and everything, it's a beautiful build. Just right off the bat, if I was being very subjective, you know, something you'll see is when I'm scrolling through these games, some games kind of have the pill icon, and then some games have like the original artwork icon. You know, it's really hard when you have all these collections and things like that to make it all perfect. But it's good. It's definitely good. So Chris Cool Mods put this thing together. He put lots of work into it. I will tell you right now, it blew me away. It's definitely up there. So what we're doing right now is we're actually starting in arcades. And in the lower right-hand corner, as we're watching the videos, you'll see how many games are in each game list. But as far as arcade sets, like with MAME games, Neo Geo, Capcom Play System, CPS 1, 2, and 3, it's all here. It's all working really great. It is similar to CoinOps, so you can run all those different shaders, glass effects, things like that to get it looking just like the original did. So I just passed by adult content, you have clone games, and then he has collections here, like the 19XX will give you all the 1900 games, you know, whole collection, and then they're sorted by the type of games as well, you know, flying, puzzle, because I don't know if you saw that, but there's over 3,000 games. So this is just an easy way to sort through all these arcade games. So, oh, and I forgot Naomi as well, right? Arcade. So you have all the Naomi games here as well. So those Dreamcast / Naomi games, you're going to have them here. Everything, as far as emulation and controls, everything right out the back works really well with my Xbox 360 controller. He sends this to you with a piece of paper with all the instructions on how to do everything as far as, you know, adding favorites, saving your state, pausing a game, things like that. So it'll be all set for you. Initial D, really cool game. So it's plug and play. This is a 4 terabyte build. He has a 96 terabyte build, and this is the condensed down version. As far as the sets that we're going to be going through here shortly, we're just finishing up. This is now the different creators, another way to filter out the arcade games. But we're still in arcade. I think there's two main categories we're still going to go into right here, which is Sega Model 2 in a second. Light gun games. This is great. Since we're on the topic of light gun games, there is a folder with all the drivers you're going to need for the Wii remote. If you want to use a Wii remote with a dolphin bar, you can do light gun games. So that's all set up for you. And then you have a Thomas Wave, Sega Model 2, Sega Model 3 that we're getting into on your screen. But with the light gun, great opportunity there as well. All you need is the light gun bar. And so whether you're putting this in an arcade cabinet or you're playing it on your computer, you can absolutely, it's all set up for you, which is really cool. There's some cool light gun games in the Sega Model 2, Sega Model 3 as well. So very, very decked out in this regard. When it comes to the smaller systems, like the Game Boys, the Nintendo, NES, SNES, you're going to have all the games. You'll see in a moment. So there's no reason for me to go through the game list. It comes with them all. You're going to get all the fun stuff. But what he does have, which if you're comparing this to the other builds I have, what's different on this is you're going to find is it has Xbox. It has Xbox 360. It has a really nice Sega Saturn collection that not a lot of other builds have. Great Dreamcast collection, PS1, PS2 collection, massive. Same with the PSP. So when you're getting into those higher end systems, this has one of the for a 4 terabyte build. Oh, and GameCube. I think GameCube is like 400 or 500. When you get into these bigger systems, it has a huge collection of games. So I'm noticing that people that are interested in builds like this, they don't want to sit there downloading all this content. And so for just the content alone is insane. And then for him to build his own little, front end on top of it, I would say he didn't build it. He customized it to his liking. It's there. So Nintendo 64, for example, you're going to get all 300 games. The Nintendo 64 DD, the development, bay thing, it has that, which is kind of fun. It doesn't have like the hack games and things like that, like the NES. It has the NES Classic and the NES games, but doesn't have like home brews or 3D Nintendo games or anything like that. It also doesn't have like the Super Nintendo CD games. But that's fine. It's not a huge deal. But in case you're curious, so this is interesting. He's got one for DuckStation and one for PlayStation. The way I was looking at it, they're the same. They both had the same, like over, I don't know, I think it was like 800 games. You can see the game count in the bottom right corner. It's like 1,000 or more games. It's just whether you wanted to launch it with DuckStation or the standalone PlayStation emulator. PlayStation 3, most of those games are going to be the PS Minis, and there's a few, but those are really big games, so there's actually not a lot of PS3 games. I'll be showing you the game list on the higher end systems later in the video. There's a Word document. It's just a lot faster to go through the Word document than it is to go through the Hyperspin, little thing on the side of the screen there. So moving along, Super Nintendo, pretty much all the games here. And then you do have the Super Nintendo Classic. It's just another way to kind of sort everything. TurboGrafx 16. So Wii U, another system that you don't see a lot on a lot of these builds. So, Breath of the Wild, really cool. Now, obviously, with the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch and these Xbox games, you're not going to get every single game. So I'll be showing you those game lists later in the video. But that's where you have to start making decisions because you're going to run out of space as far as what you can put on the system. So don't worry, we will be playing some games as well. I just wanted to do that later in the video and just share with you everything. So we now have finished arcade, we have finished handhelds, or we finished consoles, and now we're getting into handhelds. And so this is where you're going to see those really juicy PSP and Nintendo Switch collections. And then you have Pokemon Mini, Nintendo DS, and Neo Geo Pocket. So no Nintendo 3DS. So I don't know if anybody's looking for that. It's not included. That's probably a decision they had to make, just for the sake of space. You're not going to be able to fit that much space on this. Pinball. So you get 3 things here. Pinball collection. I'm clicking on it now. It's just going to go ahead and get all the different pinball games for all the different systems and consoles on the system. But then you have Pinball FX2 and FX3, which runs on Steam, and I did try it out. You'll see it later. It worked just fine. Now, this was kind of interesting. When you go to computer, there are no subsets, so it's just a huge collection of old school computer-based consoles. But if you're into that, there you go. Now, this is also really interesting game manual. So, it was a little crowded in here, I have to say, but I did find, I went to CPS System and I pulled up this, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs manual, and look how cool this is, right? To see the original operating manual for that system. So if you find yourself in the game manual section, you can definitely get lost in it, and there's like lots of little magazines and snippets and things like that. I've seen this all before, but it's a cool little nice touch that was included on the build, and it's sorted by system, and you just go into the system and you'll find it. Like here, where I found the Cadillacs and Dinosaurs manual. So moving along, collection. So this one you could totally ignore if you want, but basically it's going to have all your main different series. So when I click Legend of Zelda, it's going to go ahead and get all the Legends of Zeldas for all the handhelds, for all the consoles. And so everything from Breath of the Wild down to the original NES Zelda will be found in here. So if there's a particular game series you like, you would just go over to collections there and then find it. Now finally, he has his own settings like section here. Here's some of the different themes that you could change to. I checked out quite a few. If you're, I'm not going to go into the themes too much because if you've seen any of my coin ops builds, you're going to have the same themes there. They're going to be slightly different, but you're going to be able to see the arcade cabinets, full screen graphics, half screen graphics. And if you haven't been watching so far or haven't noticed, speaking of graphics, man, this thing is loaded with video snaps and previews. So as I'm scrolling through everything, it's just so immersive and in your face. Now, obviously, these things have existed for a really long time, and I review this stuff, and you can download it for free and make one yourself. Absolutely. So don't think that, he built this from scratch, but I'm just saying he does have it set up in a way that it's pre-programmed.
Well, he even signed it. Very nice. So, Chris Cool Mods sent me this Seagate Xbox hard drive, 4 terabytes. Has a nice little LED on it, and it has a full coin ops, hyperspin, hybrid, arcade emulation build on it. And this thing is awesome. It has everything from Nintendo Switch all the way down to, like Commodore 64, Atari. Now, he gives you this whole how controls work, hotkeys, how to get into emulation settings, everything. This is also in a PDF on the hard drive as well. And then here's what you guys all want to see is the actual game list here. So it's a nested system. You'll start out we'll see this in the video, and then here's all your consoles. Here's all the collections. Those aren't as interesting. Arcade, different arcade subsets, pinball, handheld, and different game manuals. Now on the hard drive, he also includes a games list as well. But it's 230 collections, 20,000 games on this condensed down 4 terabyte build, which kind of gives you a little bit of everything, which is nice. He also sells some much bigger builds that I'm sure we'll check out soon.
All right, so here are the different consoles and games lists. Over 230 wheel systems, 20,000 games. Crazy stuff. I think I'm looking at the consoles here. You have at least, 30 consoles. Collections, you have about 50. Arcade subs collection, things like that, you have another 50 or 60. And then you got the handhelds, and then you got the manuals as well. Now I'm just going through the different games lists here. For the bigger systems, he has a list for the Xbox. He has a list for the PSP and all the such. So feel free to pause your screen here to look at the things and the different systems. I didn't go into, like I said earlier, I'm not going to go into NES and S. You pretty much have all those older system games. They're full collections. It's not until you get up to like PlayStation 1 and above where he has to start removing some games. He just doesn't have enough space to put it on a 4 terabyte hard drive. Now there's nothing stopping you. The emulators are all set up already. You can drag and drop your own ROMs and kind of build off of this if you want. Something I will say about this build that's awesome is it seems like he totally backs this product up. He has a way to remotely access your computer and like manually help you if need be, but he also has like a FAQ section. There's also a Wikipedia on the hard drive itself. So here it is. As far as ROMs, I kind of did a right click on it to give you an idea of space there. And then now we're gonna do some gameplay while I finish talking about the what comes with the hard drive. But here you go, Nintendo 64. A lot of people like to see how this runs. It's running great, and it's in RetroArch, so you can just you can mess with the settings all you want. But as you see here, you got the bezels on the sides here. It looks really good. As far as performance, pretty standard. What I would expect on my computer. I have a fairly high-end computer. As far as those specs you're going to want for this, you definitely want a dedicated graphics card if you're going to be going like GameCube, PlayStation 2, things like that. I have a very high-end computer. The Metroid Prime game, I actually played it. Zero lag, ran perfect for Nintendo Switch. It's just unfortunately my capture card did not capture the footage, but it worked perfectly. And so performance-wise, here you go. You can see on your screen here. But this thing was a ton of fun. It has everything from, 1980s all the way up to, 2020s on here. So just kind of cool, or, close to 2020. So as I was mentioning, on the hard drive, there's a bunch of Wikipedia stuff, or, he calls it a wiki, right? The FAQs, if you will, the frequently asked questions. And so he answers a lot of those things that you might need getting started. But, with me in particular, all these emulators and things like this work great. My one tip, if you do get something like this, is when you first open it for the first time, it's going to take some time to just register everything, get it going. The other thing is you do need to set your hard drive to D drive. That actually was a little bit of a pain for me because I already had a D drive on my computer, so it did require me to do a little bit of messing around with the drive labeling. But like I said, it's all documented in the documents in the wiki that it gives you with the hard drive. So for me, it was pretty easy. I think for somebody who's never ever done this before, it could be a little bit more difficult. So final thoughts, I'm loving it. I think it's a great build, and I agree that he's added a lot of his own, experience and things he's learned throughout the years. It's definitely very squared away in that regard, and I got to give him credit. As far as where I might take off some points or what's going on with everything, it could be a little cumbersome still. Like, this is not like a NES classic. You don't just plug it in, and if you have an issue, you can unplug it and replug it in. If you press the wrong button or you install the wrong thing, or you start messing with the emulator controls and you don't know what you're doing, you can easily mess this up. Now, that being said, it seems like he's got a kind of an open customer service window, so he can help you do that, but it's not that user friendly. Now, I just posted a video on a different retro hard drive coming out of China. This one blows that one out of the water. Now, this is a call for anybody who wants to send me one of these. I'm happy to check it out because I know there's so many retro gaming groups and other people who have their own builds. Many of them are free to download, but those that sell hard drives, they make money. Whatever that is, there's a lot of them out there. So I have a hard time saying this is the best one. The one I reviewed last time was just a cheap one going out of China. It was all right. If you needed those ROMs, I see no reason why the value wasn't there. As far as this one, light years ahead. It's customized. It has way better game collections. You're not getting all these random ROMs all over the place. It's cleaned up. The graphics are great. The front end is great. So way better. Is this the best one? I don't know. I have to see some more. But it is a very solid contender. So that's what I think. Let me know what y'all think. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.